It's finally here. This is what everyone has been waiting on, right? The Pac-12 title game. Hey, good morning, and that's Uncle Lou here. Yeah, that's right. It's me, Uncle Lou, and I'm live for you. Where are you? Right there on YouTube today. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it also. And two, in addition to that as well, hey, subscribe to this channel. You know I post college football videos almost every single day of the year, and some of them are even watchable. I promise. This one, well, like always, I'll leave it up to you in the comments. You can let me know, is this preview video worth watching? Hell, to be honest with you, this preview video may be more worth watching than the Pac-12 title game itself. I don't know. No, but seriously though, I'm going to do the preview videos a little bit different this week than I normally do because we don't have a whole slate of games. Normally there's 40, 50 games or whatever, and I try to preview as many of them as I can, so I'll do 10 or 15 games of video, whatever it is. I'm just going to do a couple of videos about a couple of the games this coming weekend. So this will be the Pac-12 game. I'll have, of course, an SEC championship preview. I'm going to do a Big 12, Big 10 ACC, probably even do the Cincy-Memphis game, whatever. You get the idea. But I'm going to break it up into a couple of different videos over the next 2 or 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Start today with the Pac-12. But in all seriousness, all jokes aside about the Pac-12, yes, for the last 3 or 4 years, there hasn't been a whole lot of reason to watch the Pac-12 title game outside of you being a fan of one of the teams involved or just a diehard college football fan who loves to watch any college football game. But in terms of any potential impact on the playoffs, there wasn't a whole lot of reason to watch the Pac-12 title game the last few years. That's not the case this year. I honestly think Utah has a shot at getting into the playoffs if they win and Georgia loses in the SEC championship game. And because this game is played on Friday, Utah will have everything to play for, right? Because the SEC championship game and the rest of the championship games are on Saturday. So when this game kicks off, Utah will have no idea if Georgia won or lost because that game's not played till the next day. So they have every reason to come out motivated and to win this game. Oregon, on the other hand, can play spoiler, not just for Utah, but for the entire Pac-12. If Oregon finds a way to win this game, then they will be Pac-12 champs. They will be on their way to the Rose Bowl, but they will have basically eliminated the Pac-12 from any sort of playoff contention. A 2-loss Oregon team is just not getting in. And obviously, if Utah loses, it would be their second loss. They're not going to get in either. So I do think this is the most interesting and probably the best Pac-12 title game that we've had in quite some time. I mean, you got a couple of top 10 teams here. Oregon maybe a borderline top 10, catching that second loss to Arizona State a couple of weeks ago, but they're still a pretty good team, top 15, I would say, I guess, for sure. But in looking into some things for this video this morning, and listen, regardless of what you think about my videos or my knowledge about college football or whatever, I watch a ton of college football, okay? And I do watch a lot of Pac-12 games. And even some of this stuff surprised even me when I started looking into these two teams here. Well, let me just tell you right off the bat, Pac-12 title game, of course, Friday night, the only game on that night. So we'll all be watching it in theory. Utah's a 6.5-point favorite. And of course, it's a neutral site game played in California. Okay, but about these two teams here. Well, let's start here. Quick. Tell me the best 4 defenses in America in terms of total defense. Now, and I'm not going to get into an argument about how the top 4 total defenses aren't really the top 4. I get that. I understand that. But it's a pretty good it's a pretty good assessment of if a defense is at least pretty good or not, right? Give me, who do you think the top 4 defenses are in terms of total defense in the NCAA? You'll probably get 2 or 3 of them right. Clemson, Ohio State, UGA, right? Utah, look, here it is. Utah has a top 4 defense in terms of total defense. Now, like I said, I'm not going to get into the whole advanced metrics thing and yards per play is really more important than total yard. I understand all that. The point really of showing you this is that there's a lot that I think we don't know about the Pac-12 and particularly about Utah, who's a team that tends to fly under the radar most years. Willingham's a really good coach. He always puts a good team on the field. This year is no exception. This may be his best team yet, though. Defense is absolutely legit. again, we can argue, are they really a top 4 defense? I don't know, and that's not the point. But Utah and Oregon are in the same conference, right? They play mostly the same teams in terms of their conference schedules. Obviously, their non-conference schedules vary a little bit, and they're in different divisions within the Pac-12, but they play a similar schedule, right? Oregon's defense, 24th. So again, not to convince you just because they have the third best total defense or whatever it is means they're the third best defense. That's not what I'm saying, but they have a really good defense. Look at the other teams in the top 4, okay? Those are good defenses, right? I don't think anyone would argue that Ohio State, Clemson, and Georgia don't have good defenses. So regardless of what you think about the total defense statistic itself, especially versus some of the advanced metrics that are out today, like I mentioned with yards per play and efficiency ratings and all these kinds of things, the point is Utah has a really good defense. Whether you think it's 3rd, 5th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, whatever you think it is, it's really, really good. And it's better than Oregon, right? And you say, well, that's not really that surprising. Oregon known more for their offense, I guess, lately than their defense. And I would agree with you. That has been the case. Most people associate Oregon with offense as opposed to defense. So let's look at the total offenses here. Well, Utah's 25 and Oregon's 27. Again, I get that these are basic statistics when you're talking about total offense and total defense. And I'm not using these statistics to tell you that Utah has the 3rd best defense or Utah has the 25th best offense or Oregon has the 27th best offense. That's not why I'm showing you these stats. I'm showing you these stats to give you an idea of how these two offenses and defenses, Utah and Oregon, sort of compare and relate to each other. And regardless of what you think about total defense, if you're number 3, you're a good defense, okay? Again, maybe you're not the 3rd best, but you're really good. Utah's got a really good defense. The surprising thing to me is that they appear to have a little bit of a better offense even than Oregon. And I think they're definitely more rounded. Justin Herbert gets a lot of attention. A lot of people talk about Justin Herbert in terms of the NFL draft and being sort of the prototypical drop back pocket passer type thing. And he's really, really good. Tyler Huntley is really, really good too for Utah. He's not far off the numbers that Justin Herbert has put up this year. And there's a lot of talk this year about Tyler Huntley getting drafted really high in the 2020 draft coming up next April. So he's a really good quarterback too. Is he better than Justin Herbert? I'm not sure how many people really believe that right now, but the point is he is a really good quarterback. They also have a really good running back that went over 1,000 yards, Zach Moss. Now, Oregon's got a good running back too. It's C.J. Verdell, I think his name is. He's just under 1,000. So both these teams have really good quarterbacks, really good running backs. Utah in particular plays very disciplined, fundamentally sound football. Like Ty Willingham, probably the most under-the-radar coach in America. I think he's a really, really good coach, and he's sort of stuck, I guess you could say, at Utah. Well, not stuck in terms of he couldn't leave if he wanted to, but Utah just doesn't get a lot of publicity or media hype or attention, right? I mean, I'm not telling you anything you don't know here. They're not Alabama or Oklahoma or Georgia or Florida or LSU or Penn State or Ohio State or Michigan or even Nebraska, teams that people tend to talk about a lot. Utah's just not one of those teams. Ty Willingham, very, very good coach. I think this is going to be a close game. 6.5 points, that's just under a touchdown, favoring Utah here. I like what I've seen from Utah this year. I'm not going to pretend like I've watched every second of every Utah game or every second of every Oregon game, but I've watched a lot of several of both of their games. Oregon has looked really, really good at times, and they have looked underperforming at times, in my opinion. I like Mario Cristobal too. He's sort of the new kid on the block. He was a recruiting guru. Oregon has him as head coach. He's had a good year this year. What are they? 10-2, right? Utah, of course, 11-1. Utah's only loss came to Southern Cal. Not a great loss, but Southern Cal's 8-4. They're ranked. There's definitely teams in the top 10 with worse losses, right? I can think of one for sure that has a worse loss than Utah. So, losing to Southern Cal, not the most embarrassing thing in the world. The knock on Utah so far, and this is something that's sort of out of their control in terms of the conference schedule, they don't have that big win that people can point to sort of help themselves believe that Utah is for real. And unfortunately, a lot of people need to see that. It's become a joke on this channel, the whole who have you played thing in that. And Utah, unfortunately, they didn't schedule a whole lot in the non-con, and the Pac-12 is sort of down overall again this year. Washington wasn't as good as people thought they would be. Arizona's terrible. Arizona State is your typical, 6, 7, 8 win team. Southern Cal, an 8-win team. UCLA, no one cares. Cal, Stanford had a down year. So point is, they haven't had an opportunity on a big stage, right, to really come out and get a dominant win over what most people would consider to be a good team. They haven't had that opportunity. Now, they've blown out a lot of bad teams. And I say this all the time, when you play a bad team, that's the best you can do, right? Georgia lost to a bad team. So, what's worse, losing to South Carolina or blowing out a bad team? Utah has blown out a lot of bad teams this year. But more importantly, if you watch Utah play, I think you can tell they're a pretty good team. I don't think they're a true national title contender. I don't think Utah would stack up with the majority of the top 3 or 4 teams in America. But because of the way things have worked out this year, I do think Utah has a legitimate shot with a win in this game to get into the playoff if Georgia loses to LSU. I'm going to watch this game, and I'll be honest, as big of a college football fan as I am, I have not always watched the Pac-12 title game. There has been years where I've decided to just skip it. It comes on Friday night. That's a time where I typically don't watch college football games. I do family stuff, maybe go out to eat with the wife or kids or whatever, because Saturdays I'm out here all day working with the college football. I'm going to make time to watch this game on Friday, though. For one, I think it has the potential to be a really good game. For two, playoff implications are on the line here. I think if Utah wins, like I said, they've got a chance to get in to that 4 spot. Plus, we got 2 really good quarterbacks to watch here, 2 really good coaches to watch here. I think this will be an interesting game. I think Utah wins. I think they win by more than 6.5. God, mother. Sorry about that. Where was I? I think Utah wins. I think they win by more than 6.5. I think the motivation factor is on Utah's side. Oregon, the motivation to ruin it for Utah, I guess, is there. But I think Oregon already considers this season a disappointment, whereas Utah still has everything to play for. I think that's going to be enough in this game. And honestly, I think Utah might just be the better team, particularly on defense. Give me Utah, lay to 6.5. All right, I really appreciate you guys watching this Pac-12 championship game preview video. Again, I'm doing things a little bit different this week. Instead of doing a bunch of games in one video, since we only have a handful of games coming up this weekend, I'm going to kind of split it up. So Pac-12 game up now. Probably have a second preview video up for you guys later this afternoon. We're getting some new living room furniture delivered today. So we're getting some new living room furniture delivered today, so I got to take a break now to handle that. You know how that is. They're coming sometime between 10 o'clock this morning and March of next year. But anyway, they'll be here sometime today, I guess. So I'll do another preview video later today, hopefully. And don't forget, live show tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern, the call-in show, Uncle Lou live. We do it every Tuesday and Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. All right, appreciate you guys watching. Have a good morning.